really traumatized her. And then shortly after, to tell you a little bit of what my daughter's like, shortly after I got a letter from Judy Clark, the head reporter there, asking for an interview, and I told my wife my daughter was sitting there, that would never happen. A couple of days later, my daughter came home from school. She went to school with that reporter's son, and he's, I guess, pretty short, pretty skinny, and he was getting bullied on the playground. My daughter was well aware of who he was, and she was the only one that stuck up for him. And I taught her a long time ago that that's what you do. You know, it doesn't matter whether you like someone, you know, you don't treat people that way. She came home and told me about that, and I was pretty proud of it. And even though my marriage was still on the rocks, you know, I met with my father-in-law and to talk about some things. And one of the things that he told me, and I was kind of surprised to hear it from him, since his daughter and I had split up after 16 years. You know, he said, despite everything that you put this family through, you're one of the best fathers I know. And that's why I guess when I saw that a guy that owed $12,000 in arrears and unpaid child support actually sued the mother of his child to get his child support reduced, say that I haven't lived up to my moral and ethical obligations, and then obviously hasn't bothered to come here to undergo cross-examination. I thought that was pretty pathetic, because I do take my moral and ethical obligations very seriously. And through counseling and some changes that I made, my marriage is back probably better than it ever has been. My family is doing very well. My mind, I believe, is clearer than it's ever been in a decade. And I believe that I can represent my constituents well. That's not to take back from the disappointment that they've had in me. There's nothing I can do to change that. What I can do is set an example of how you overcome your obstacles instead of letting them defeat you. What I can do is make sure that I understand the issues that are before this House for the rest of the session, which I think most of my colleagues know that I do pay pretty close attention to policy, take my vote seriously, and I can represent my constituents well. If I'm removed from office, whether it's by expulsion, resignation at this point, or recall, my constituents would likely have absolutely no representation until the end of the term. They've spoken, that's not what they want, that's not what I believe is best for anybody. And despite the disappointment and embarrassment that I might have caused, that I have caused, and the regrets that I have for putting people in danger, I don't believe that that is the right solution. And you can look at precedent, and you've read the resolution that I have, and I don't want to get into that, but I do think that being an advocate for my constituents for the next 9 months and trying to set the best example I can is fulfilling the best that I can the promises that I made to them. And I do want to say I wanted to thank a lot of the people, not just in this body, but especially my constituents. I really had a lot of people stop me in the grocery stores and Walmart, send me notes that have been extremely supportive. A lot of people have told me that, especially the touching ones have been, you know, when they say they've lost a husband or a father or son or a daughter to alcoholism, and that they really understand what I'm trying to do here. And I never did want to be the spokesperson for alcoholics, but through the course of my alcohol treatment, I have to tell you that I met a lot of really good people. People that are not criminals, people that society seems to disregard because of the issues that they face. And I'm not talking about drunk driving. A lot of these people were never arrested for drunk driving. But it seems that society has a real negative attitude towards people that struggle with alcoholism. And it's unfortunate because I think it makes a lot of those people less likely to face what they have to face to recover and be productive citizens again. And I consider myself fortunate to have met a lot of those people and to see really firsthand the good nature that a lot of my constituents and friends had and have. And as I said before, with all the regrets that I do have, I do believe that things happen for a reason. And I am grateful that I'm here today, that I didn't hurt or kill anyone, and that I've experienced what I have and hope to make the most of it. And I appreciate the committee's time, and thank you.
Thank you, Representative Ward, for appearing today. Any questions, Representative Ward?
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you're aware, this committee has been looking at this for several months, and in the course of its work has drafted a number of substitute amendments that are similar to LRBs 215, 216, and 217. I guess my question for you is, what facts in those substitutes do you dispute or disagree with?
Well, I don't have the language in front of me, but I dispute the charges for operating under the influence, the latter two charges. Obviously, the first one, I don't, but I do dispute the latter two. I think I should have my day in court. Those charges haven't been proven. And I think when the evidence comes out from chemical tests by the state, I think I'll be exonerated from those two charges. And I also would add that, my constituents, I believe, had made it clear by their lack of action for recall and polling that's been done by a local newspaper, that at least they believe that the courts should handle legal matters and not the assembly. And that's always been the precedent of this body, and I think it should remain that way.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is directed actually to Attorney Highland.
Yes, sir.
Your testimony stated that there have been no convictions since the election or three pending charges.
That's correct.
The charge in Columbia County was there has not been a conviction there, although I understand there's a plea agreement.
That is correct, and it's scheduled for a plea hearing in April.
Representative Wood, do you have a valid driver's license?
Yes, I do.
And when was the last time you had an alcoholic drink?
July 27th, 2009.
The treatment that you received at L.A. Phillips, where's that located?
It's just outside of Chippewa Falls.
And that's a voluntary program?
Yes.
Did you complete the program?
Yes, and I was recommended for discharge and continuing an aftercare program, as well as 2 meetings a week in AA.
I'm sorry?
As well as 2 meetings a week in AA.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, thank you for your testimony today.
Thank you.
There's no other slips here. Is there anybody here that's filled out slips? Let me just say that the next